So moving on to Kickboxer from 1989. An American kickboxing champion travels to Thailand with his brother to show off how great he is. And then he finds out he ain't all that great, as he gets destroyed and paralyzed by the Thai champion. The brother refuses to leave the country and finds the ultimate teacher of Muay Thai to help train him for a revenge match with the Thai champ. So this is a movie that, it's one of those movies that it's just like a staple of my childhood. Every time I go to the video store, quite often I would rent this out, and going to the video store wasn't something I would do all that often because I lived in a very small town. But yet, it's a movie I'd pick up a lot and really enjoy watching. I think, it's very similar in a lot of ways to Bloodsport, and I think this is the movie Van Damme did pretty much directly after Bloodsport. There's obviously a few bits and pieces that are changed in terms of story, but at its core, it's still a guy, training martial arts to eventually defeat this ultimate badass champion. So, I guess, it's pretty much the same as Bloodsport. It's got some of the same cheesy type songs, maybe even sung by some of the same people. I can't recall off the top of my head, but I think Stan Bush does songs in both movies. I mean, Van Damme's physique in this movie is off the fucking chain, I guess. He's so cut in this movie that he could eat a piece of coal and shit a diamond. What else can I say about it?
Yeah, so I'm happy that you brought up Bloodsport, because I was just going to pretty much compare this one to that one, and I think both movies are pretty good. I enjoyed this, about as much as I thought I was going to, which is a good thing in this case. I went in with somewhat high expectations. It's a bit more over the top than Bloodsport is. There's some sort of really ridiculous scenes here. And I'm sure you know some of the ones I'm talking about. But at the same time, it also has some darker themes at times, and I think it sort of evens out. I really liked a lot that one. I forget the guy's name, but the trainer guy who was training him.
Dennis Chan.
Yeah. That guy is a lot of fun. Take this and run faster. I know. And quite a bit about that guy. I enjoyed him. And a lot of this movie is the training, so I'm happy that it's worth enjoying. I like the relationship between the two brothers, and like I said, there's some darker themes toward the end that come up. And I know the final fight isn't quite as dramatic as I was hoping it would be, but it was still pretty good. So I thought it was a pretty enjoyable movie. And even though I think Bloodsport did some things better than this one, this still did a pretty decent job.
Dennis Chan in the movie is pretty funny. He's got his moments. And he is in the first 3 Kickboxer movies, so it's good to see him continue on throughout at least some of the series. And he's kind of like a more twisted type of Mr. Miyagi, I guess.
Yeah, the whole thing about, I told them that you said they suck at fighting and your mother fucked a mule, it's...
When he's dropping the coconuts, he's like, I'm okay, and then he's like, drop another one.
Yeah, and like I said, those portions felt a bit more, not necessarily comedic, but they felt a bit, almost a lot more lighthearted than some of this movie really is. So, I mean, I enjoy these moments, but at the same time, I don't know if they necessarily fit in.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of fun between.
Yeah, I think part of it, I can't take, at least in this movie, Jean-Claude Van Damme, I can't take him seriously. Like, the way the guy speaks, like, I don't know, he sounds like drunk half the time. He does, like, I don't know. And I get in the movie he's I think grew up in Belgium, but I don't know, I didn't entirely buy him as like a serious, like, hey, I will get revenge for you. I think the brother should have gone with somebody else, but
Speaking of Belgium, because that's where Van Damme's from, or where he grew up. The main villain in the movie, Tong Po, is played by Van Damme's childhood best friend, who also came from Belgium with Van Damme to break into the movie industry. And I mean, there's a whole huge story about it, which is pretty interesting because they seem to go through a couple years of really, living on the streets and that type of thing until they kind of broke into the movie. So, and I think the interesting thing about Tong Po the villain is that the actor that plays him actually looks nothing like him, or at least not. He's wearing a lot of makeup in this movie. He's not Asian, so I think he plays one of the scariest non-horror villains that I think you'll see in any movies. Like that scene towards the beginning where he's just kicking the pillar. I used to watch that scene as a kid, and I was like, Jesus Christ, are there really people out there like this?
that reminds me, that scene immediately after that when Jean-Claude Van Damme was running back to his brother. Hey, dude, you've got to leave. Like, I just saw this guy. You cannot fight him. It sort of cracked me up. And of course, the arrogance of the brother. Oh, I can fight anyone.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe not.
Motherfucker wants a street fight. I'll show him, and then he gets his ass kicked. Yeah. Especially since, the character of Tong Po is not like this huge, muscly dude like you probably see in most other villains from this type of movie. He's actually quite different and unique, I think. Yeah, so I really enjoy him as a villain in the movie. Before the show, I did show you that deleted scene that was in all the VHS, or it was in the VHS release that I watched growing up. And so I'm not sure if that was just added into the VHS just for extra runtime or something, but I don't know. It got taken out on DVD and Blu-ray, and it's I think it's a pretty good scene. I wish they'd kept it in, the scene where he's in hospital and crying about how he can't use his legs anymore and how he wants revenge, and yeah.
Like Chucky said, he showed me that scene, and obviously he has more experience with it. I wasn't necessarily as moved. I think the acting was a bit iffy. So that's my only thing. I like the emotional, relationship between the brothers, but I can see why maybe that didn't make some final cuts.
I think most people, and you can see all the comments from people in there, the majority of them were like, why'd they take this out? They should have left that in.
One thing I really liked about the aunt is after that brutal fight, he knocks out the main enemy and then he just punches the other guy, which I don't know, it just sort of cracked me up because you sort of knew it was coming, but just finally seeing the guy taken down, no, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I guess one final thing that I'm not going to discuss it in great detail here, but I'll just mention that as you're aware that I actually like Kickboxer 2 more than Kickboxer, the original movie. So, whenever we get a chance to actually discuss that one, I'll explain a little bit more about why that is. But just for anyone out there listening, for controversial opinions and things like that, just keep a lookout for that. So, like I've been saying, it's a staple of my childhood. It's a movie I'd regularly rent out on VHS and watch any time I could. I would just watch the shit out of certain movies just over and over, and this is one of them. And it's not even my favorite movie in the series, so go figure. But no, I give this a 9 out of 10. I think it's just as good as Bloodsport. Both of those movies, they have the same level of enjoyment for me, so I think that's a pretty good rating.
Yeah, so like I said at the beginning, I think this one is... I really liked Bloodsport and I really enjoyed this one. It's a bit more over the top and there's a bit more ridiculous things in here as compared to Bloodsport, but at the same time they deal with sometimes darker themes. Like, what kind of heartless bastard was Tab a dog? But and there's some other things too. So I'm also going to give this a 9 out of 10. despite some of the over-the-top sequences, I still enjoyed it. It was a fun movie.
And Dennis Chan cranks up the humor in the next couple of movies as well. So.
That might be a sight to behold.
yeah. He's a funny, interesting character, and as long as he's in the movies are usually at least entertaining.